Hello, welcome to the Eldenwood Craft podcast. My name's Emma. Today is Friday the 24th of September and this is my place where I talk to you about all the things that I've been making since we last met. There will be show notes in the description box down below this video, and I will link all the makers and producers and patterns and so on that I talk about in this episode. You'll also find a link there to my website, which is www.eldenwoodcraft.com, and also a link to all the important places that you can find me online, like Instagram and Ravelry and so on. My website is also where you will find the project bags and other accessories for makers that I sell, and I hope to be able to expand that range soon as well. In today's episode I've got a bumper stack just down here of finished objects because it has been a while since I last recorded. I've also got a small number of works in progress. I've got a bit of admin to do, which I'll do at the beginning, some prize winners to announce from our make-along. Excuse me, a little bit of life news. I think I'll pepper that through the conversation as we go along. And some information about my shop update, which is happening tonight. I'm not 100% sure that I will manage to get this up onto YouTube before the shop update, but it's a huge update. I've got something like 50 plus bags going in, so even if it goes up on Saturday there should still be something left for you. And anyway, I'm just going to go into the update. Let's cut there. Yeah, I'll talk about the shop update at the end. What was I going to say there? Yes, so thank you for coming back if you are a returning viewer. A very warm welcome to you if you are a new viewer. And let's get started with some crafty chat. I'm going to have to refer to show notes because my memory is like a sieve at the moment. I've got menopausal memory. Yeah, so lots of notes today. Also, if you hear any background noise, I am currently living on a building site, an actual building site. So you might hear the beep 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 of trucks and things. We have just moved house. I'm recording today in my new craft room slash workplace slash studio, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so we made the move fairly recently from Surrey down to Somerset, me and the family, and it's been an amazing move. We're really happy here, but you might hear some background noise from out the window from my daughter's room next door, and from the husband who's downstairs watching the start of the Ryder Cup. So who knows what's going to happen today. We'll just go with it. I'm sure you don't mind. Okay, on to admin first of all. The Make 9 make-along continues. I was going to do a bit of an update on how I've been getting on with my Make 9, but I think this might be quite a long episode. I am expecting to be able to record much more frequently now, so I will probably do an update maybe in my next episode. But the year-long make-along continues. When I recorded last, I announced the winner for January, February, March. That winner hasn't come forward, and I did say that if the prize wasn't claimed then I would redraw. So this beautiful skein of loom from Loom Yarn, Jess at Loom Yarn, which is called Faded Seaside Glamour. It's gorgeous. I want to keep it myself, but I'm going to be good. I've redrawn that, and the new winner is Tracy K. Nixon. I'll put your name on the screen. Tracy is in the UK, and Tracy looks to be the queen of cows. You've knit an awful lot of cows, which are amazing, really pretty. So Tracy, you are the winner of that lovely skein. If you want to get in touch with me, then I'll get your address and pop that in the post to you. I've also drawn the prize through random number generator for the next quarter, the next quarter's prize, which will be April, May, June. And I have got this gorgeous skein of yarn from, I think is it Sophie? I can't remember the name, at Somerset Yarns. You'll see why I chose that, because it's a yarn dyer from the local area. So Somerset Yarns, and this is the gorgeous skein that the winner will receive. And again, this is a skein of yarn that I would very much like to own myself, and I'm having great difficulty in giving it away. But that winner is Lace Wing on Heather, who is Heather in Maine in the United States. So yeah, Heather, if you get in touch with me, I'm sure I've got your address, but just in case you've moved or anything, drop me a line and I will pop that in the post to you as well. I'll be drawing for the July to September finished objects when I next record, which should be fairly early on in October, I would have thought. So keep posting your finished objects in the finished object thread, and if you can't use the finished object thread is in Ravelry. If you can't use Ravelry, then there is a hashtag that you can use on Instagram, and I will put that in the description box so you have got that. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. The prize for this current quarter, I showed it in my last podcast, so you can rewind and have a look at that if you want to see. But it's a beautiful skein of yarn from lovely Sherry Iris, a beautiful little basket, and some printed postcards that her son, I believe, designed. So whoever wins the July, August, September prize is in for a gorgeous prize package. Okay, that's admin out of the way. On to what I've been making, and I have got a whopper of a pile of finished objects here. And I'm just going to go through them one by one. There's not a huge amount to say on any of them particularly, so I hope that we'll be able to sort of zip through this quite quickly. So, the first finished object to show you is this very basic hat. It's the Midas hat. I haven't made a note of the designer. I will put that in the show notes. But I knit it out of this brown skein of Knit Picks. I can't remember which version of Knit Picks it is, whether it's the Stroll, might be Stroll. Can't remember the colourway. I've lost the ball band completely. The nice thing about this hat though is the little surprise underneath. So I've knit the inside of the brim in this gorgeous skein. Again, not very helpful. I can't remember who dyed this, but I've got the leftovers here. It's lovely. It's either a Biff Sugar Yarns or a Sherry Iris. And basically, I think this is a free pattern. Construction of the hat is really simple. You cast on however many stitches and you knit, joining around and knit until you get to that far. Until you've knit that many number of rows, however many that is. Then you do something and then you switch to your outer colour, and then you just knit until you come to the crown decreases. So it's really a really basic hat, but the beauty of it is because you've got that double brim, it keeps your ears nice and warm, and you haven't had to do any ribbing at all, which gets the big thumbs up from me. So I am looking forward to the cooler weather when we can start to wear that. And shall I just show you the crown decreases? I love seeing crown decreases on hats. I haven't blocked this at all. I don't think it particularly needs it. It's got a little bit of slouch on it. I'm not going to put it on because I will mess my hair up. But yeah, I'm sure you can imagine what it looks like on. Right, so that's finished object number 1. Then we come into 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of socks. Polish the Halo as Martin from, oh my goodness, Martin, what's your podcast called? Knit 365. Martin, I like Martin's podcast. He's a Welsh YouTuber and he talks about what he's been making. But he has a lovely style, and he's very yeah, I don't know what I was trying to say there, apologies, but yeah, so Martin always says polish the halo when you've done something really good. So I've got 4 pairs of socks to talk to you about. There's a bit of a theme going on there apart from with 1 pair, so let's get cracking. In no particular order, we have a stripy pair of socks. These have been knit in Giddy Yarns, Hot Chocolate colourway, toes and heels in an unnamed mini that I had in my stash. There's 2 of them, just for proof. And I made these shorty, they're not matching. I don't really have an issue at all with matching my stripes. So I've knit about 10 rows of 2x2 ribbing, knit about maybe 15 to 20 rows, and then continued in the foot. I did an afterthought heel, and I followed Kay Jones's umbrella heel from her umbrella socks recipe pattern. Yeah, so then so that heel came in later, and I also did Kay's umbrella toe on this one. On this one, for some reason, I did a simple wedge toe. I don't know why. I obviously wasn't thinking. However, quite glad that I did that in a way, because it's given me the I've not done this before, but I've been trying to find out my perfect sock recipe over the last few months, and this has helped me enormously because I like both these toes, but I now know exactly how many rows I need to knit before I need to stop for the toe on each of these different types of toes. And I also just for the record, I love this heel. I do like a heel flap and gusset, and I don't mind knitting it, but when I fancy a really quick knit, this umbrella toe heel is really a good fit for me. It's very simple. The afterthought cutting into your yarn issue is not scary at all if you haven't done it. Yeah, so the Kay Jones's umbrella sock pattern. Oh, you know what you get with me when I record a podcast. My words are not always the most eloquent. Seems that we're having those problems today. But yes, so the umbrella sock pattern from Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears is a really good first afterthought heel sock pattern if you fancy giving that a go. So, pair 1 of stripy socks. I can wear those now, although I have to say, for the end of September, it's still remarkably warm. The sun is shining through my window. I have had socks on in the evening once this week, and that's the first time I've worn socks almost since probably May, June time. Right, anyway, next pair of socks is another stripy pair of socks. I'm not going to put them both on the blockers. These are a gorgeous, bright summer pair of socks, and these are down Sheepy Lane. Yeah, they're a pair of Rose City rollers, which you will have seen. This is probably about the 6th or 7th pair of Rose City rollers that I've knit. I like the fact with the Rose City roller that you can just knit without, you start your sock without having to do any ribbing. That pleases me enormously. Seems to be a bit of a theme with the sock and the hat. Yeah, so I did a heel flap and gusset in a contrasting yarn that came with this set, and a wedge toe, and I think I did the same. Yeah, I did the same on the other one. They took remarkably little yarn. I can't remember exactly, but maybe around 30 grams, which is 30 grams of the main colour, which is nothing really, is it, for a lovely pair of socks. Did I have anything else to say on those? No, not really. Just a really nice pair of socks that I will enjoy wearing, brighten up the day. In a very similar vein, sock pair number 3, I have even less to say about these because they are exactly the same sock, a Rose City roller with a lovely stripy heel flap and gusset in a yarn that I have absolutely no idea where it came from. I put a grey toe in. This is a grey, was it a blue? I'm not sure, I think it's a grey mini that I had lying around, and I really like these. There's the second one. Yeah, I have no idea what that yarn is. If anyone recognises it, then let me know. Did I write down anything interesting about that? Striped unknown sock, Rose City roller, 60 stitches. I do like a 60 stitch sock. I knit on 2.25 needles, 2.25 millimetre needles. 60 stitches is probably my stitch count of choice, although I will go up to 64. I've never tried a 56. I think that might just be a little bit too tight on the old feet. But yes, I know people have a varying preference for the amount of ease that they knit into their socks. I like a little bit of negative ease. Some people like, is the phrase zero ease, where your sock sort of just fits nicely round your foot. Yeah, anyway, a stripy sock. Happy days, happy days. So yes, bit of a theme with my socks that I knit over the summer. Oh, I have another pair of socks. Now these you have seen before, but I finished the second pair. So talking of Kay Jones from the Bakery Bears, here is a pair of finished Moss Eccles socks. The pattern's quite hard to see on this dark, oh there you go, this dark green, beautiful yarn. On camera that looks very sort of pine forest green. In reality there's a bit more brightness and leafy green to that green. I don't know if I'm describing that very well. I can't describe colours well at all. But yes, so that was a lovely sock to knit. The sock in the pattern is a long sock, or longer than that, but I, as you've seen, this was a summer for knitting short ankle socks. It's knit from a skein of beautiful yarn from Fee at Flourish Fibres. There is her ball band. It's a superwash merino nylon 75/25 in the colourway Midsummer. Sadly, I don't believe Fee is dyeing anymore. I had a check a little while ago and her shop is empty and has been for a while, and on Instagram she has not been showing any yarn dyeing, so yeah, I feel quite lucky to have these really. Beautiful, one of my favourite pairs of socks that I have ever knit, and they blocked really nicely. The stripy socks, I haven't blocked any of those, and you can actually tell the difference These feel a little bit more, not luxurious, but they feel finished, whereas my stripy ones that I haven't blocked, yeah, they don't have the same finish. Anyway, pop those down. Right, so that's 4 pairs of socks off the needles and a hat. Next in front of me, or should I do those or should I do that? Let's do that. In my last episode I showed you which is the front and which is the back. This is the back. I showed you my stripes sweater. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits, and it was a finished object in my last podcast, but I wasn't overly happy with it. I think I had knit it too long in the body. It's meant to be a cropped jumper, and in my head, I don't wear cropped jumpers. So I carried on knitting and I went far too far, and it was very unflattering. So I said in my last podcast that I was probably going to rip it back, and that is what I did. And it's still a little bit longer than a crop, but I took out probably oops, there's an end there that needs sorting out. I probably took out 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 rows. That's a lot of knitting, isn't it? But never mind. It's now a better looking sweater. I have tried it on and I am happier with it. I have got to say though, I think I prefer a raglan sweater to a yoked sweater. This is a yoked sweater. If you're not familiar with the terminology, a yoked sweater is basically a sweater that has a yoke, which is a band where the increases happen along the front and the back, whereas a raglan, the increases happen down the front and the back on both sides of the sleeve, so they sort of cap the sleeves. But here, again, terminology. I'm currently knitting a raglan jumper, and I've got a couple of these yoked jumpers now, and I don't know whether it's how my bust sits on my body or my slope of my shoulders or whatever it is, but sometimes I just feel that yoked sweaters make me a bit. So there's some experimenting to be done. But yeah, I am pleased. I mean, it's lovely, isn't it? The colours are great. I knit this out of Drops and Ords, so it's a very affordable jumper. It's really soft yarn, but I think it's quite hardy. So I shall look forward to wearing that. That was the camera just stopped because I think I got to about half an hour. So yeah, I was saying that I think I'll look forward to wearing that when the weather cools down. So that's my stripes sweater. Okay, 2 major finished objects, 2 blankets. The first one was a blanket and is now a wrap, and that is my Cozy Memories blanket. Excuse me. So yes, this has been on my needles since spring 2016, which is about 5.5 years, and I made really good progress at the start, probably like everyone else does, and really motored through it, and then it just slowed down and I stopped knitting it for a long time. Picked it up again over the first lockdown and got a little bit into it, but I think in reality my heart wasn't into making a huge, great big blanket. The time that it was going to take me to finish it, to get to anywhere near a big enough blanket, was yeah, I wasn't in it for the long haul. And actually, so I was sitting here one morning. This is where I sit in the mornings before I start work, have a cup of tea, and I knit and watch a podcast. And it was a little bit chilly. It was the first chilly morning, and this was sitting in my knitting basket. And I just thought, oh, do you know, I'm a bit cold, a bit chilly. I don't want to go back into the bedroom and get a jumper or a dressing gown. So I just put it, put it round my shoulders, carried on knitting, and it's, can you see, I've just melted back into the chair. It was lovely. And so that was it. I had about 2 or 3 more squares to do before I got to the end of a row, so it was all nicely squared off, and I thought, that's a finished object when I get there. This is now going to be my knitting chair cozy wrap. Look at it, it's such a bright, happy thing. And yeah, so I made that decision. I'm going to take it off now because I'm absolutely sweltering. So I got to the end of that row, and then I needed to make a decision about how I finished it off. And what I did, I got a ball of, I had a ball of Drops Nord in stash in this beige colourway, and I did an I-cord border all the way around the blanket now wrap. Was blanket now wrap. That took me an awfully long time, but I sat here in the mornings and that was what I did every morning for probably 2 or 3 weeks. Some mornings I only managed to sort of cover a couple of squares, sometimes I did a few squares, and it was just a really nice way to start the day. I absolutely love the I-cord finish on it. I think it really makes it look very elegant, I think. So the effort was definitely worth it for that finish. So yeah, so now I have got a finished object. I can't stand up, but I will sort of see if I can attempt to show you how big it is. So it's 21 squares across, and it's 10 squares deep. And I did work out how many stitches that was going to be, and it was somewhere in the region of 190,000 stitches, something like that. So that's a lot of work that goes into one of these. Goodness only knows how many stitches are in the full-size blankets. But yeah, so a finished object, and I'm really rather pleased with it. It's going to sit on the back of my knitting chair. So yeah, you may well see it in future podcasts hanging out. The other finished object is another blanket. This one is a proper size blanket, and this is my crochet blanket. Now, if you remember, you've seen this on and off on the podcast over the last couple of years. Lovely Marta, who is Martushka Knits and has a podcast, but hasn't podcasted for a little while. A couple of years ago she started the Crochet From Your Heart cowl, which was a crochet along to crochet a blanket that was to be gifted to, I think this was the premise, it was going to be gifted to somebody, so you were knitting it from your, or making it from your heart and giving it as a gift. And Marta was making hers to give to her daughter, who goes off to university, was going off to university, and I think it's this year she's gone. And coincidentally, my daughter also goes off to university this year, and in fact she goes on Monday, so I'm going to be a bit of a mess on Monday. But I finished this blue and grey blanket for her to take away as a bit of a mum hug. I don't actually know how keen she is on it, but it's going with her, I can tell you that. So it's again, difficult to show you the full size of it, but it's crocheted following the Attic 24 granny stripe blanket pattern on the Attic 24 website. All the yarns chosen were from the blue and grey palette. There's loads of bits of hair in it. Some of them obviously have other colours amongst or in the yarns, but predominantly the yarn, the main colour of each yarn chosen was either blue or grey, and it's folded in half at the moment, but that's not doing a good job. I'm not going to stand up because I will knock everything, but it's a nice, it's a one person size. Big old blanket that she will be able to wrap herself up in, and I bordered it with one round of grannies in this dark blue colour. My daughter said, it doesn't need a border, why do you want to border it? But I think it just finishes it off very nicely. So yes, I'm really glad that one's finished. It got a bit tough going at times. Although I put all my heart into it, it needed to be finished. So I spent a bit of time earlier this year racing through it as quickly as I could. Whether I'll make another granny stripe blanket, I don't know. I found it a little bit, I like repetition, but I don't know, crochet isn't my biggest love, I have to say. But a finished object, ready in time for Ella to take off to university next week. She is going to study dance. She's a beautiful little dancer. She won't want me to say any of this. But yeah, I'm really chuffed for her. She has a real passion for dance. She has studied ballet since she was 4 years old or something. And there was a time actually when we thought she might go to ballet school, but I think she's really excited to be going off to uni to study something that she has a real passion for. So yeah, there'll be a big loss in the house, but I'm really pleased for her. Anyway, that is all the finished objects that I have to show you. What shall I show you next? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things on the go. Actually, I'm not going to show you my habitation throw. I will show that to you next time, just in the interest of keeping this as quick or as short as possible. My habitation throw, which I'm using monthly mini skeins that I get from Sherry Iris, is coming on nicely. I'm keeping up with that, so I'm on the lavender month at the moment, and I will show you that next time. I'm going to show you a couple of pairs of socks, just again quite briefly. So sock number 1 that I cast on just a couple of days ago. Let me show you the yarn first. This is this lovely skein of yarn, ball of yarn, cake of yarn, come on Emma, is from Stranded Dye Works. It's the Industrial Kingfisher colourway. I've had this a long time and I've been longing to knit with it, but it was in my box of it was in my box of special yarns, and I've got to the stage in my yarn hoarding career where I've decided just to knit with everything. So yeah, so Industrial Kingfisher from Stranded Dye Works, and I am knitting up a pair of simple slip stitch socks. They will be relatively short. I'm going to put an afterthought heel in. But isn't that knitting up just beautifully? I've done a 2x2 rib for about 15 rounds, and then I'm just slipping I'm knit the, oh come on Emma. So this is a 2-row repeat. I'm doing knit 3, slip 1, knit 3, slip 1, and then on the next round it's knit all the stitches, and then the next round, or then you just repeat it. So yeah, I really like how that's turned out. Knitting them on double points, which I have taken to using over my recent sock projects. And as I mentioned earlier, these are 2.25mm needles. They are higher sharps, higher steels. So that is a nice just pick up and get on with it project which doesn't require any thought. My other pair of socks is knit from a pattern. The pattern is the Fragment Socks by Helen Stewart, who is Curious Handmade. I don't have a photo to show you, but I can show you. I printed that out from Liner magazine, which is where I got the pattern from. This is the cake ball skein of yarn that I'm using. Wow. This is again, it's from the Precious box of yarns. It's a Nora George. And the colourway is Fitzwilliam Darcy. Did come with a mini, but I used the mini for something else. And oh look, you can see how long I have had this yarn, because there's Tracy's ball band, and it's in a very old incarnation of her logo. So yeah, Fitzwilliam Darcy is a 75/25 superwash merino nylon. I don't know if it's a colourway that Tracy still dyes, but it is absolutely beautiful. And here is the, whoops, here is the sock. You won't be able to see very much. I don't even, there we go, that's in focus. I've only just started it, so that's about 17-18 rounds for the cuff. I don't know if I did a longer cuff than normal. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is a very subtle cable detail on this sock. So it takes a little bit of thinking. It's about a 12-row repeat, I think. Yeah, but it's so these socks are my socks for the Little Drops of Wonderful Strictly Sock Along for 2021. So Little Drops of Wonderful, you probably all know lovely Ali, who is a podcasting queen. Every year for the last 5 or 6 years, I think, she's been running the Strictly Sock Along, where you knit a pair of socks while the Strictly Come Dancing season is running, and you enter it into finished objects thread, and you cheat. There's prizes for cheating and all sorts of things, and it's a massive knit along, make along. Yeah, and so these are the socks that I cast on last Saturday, which is when the programme started. Not much to see at the moment, it's quite difficult. I know it's a dark yarn and the pattern probably won't show very much, but it's a pattern that I've been longing to knit for a long time, and I think it will look pretty good in that yarn once I've made a bit of progress. So sock number 2. And then my third and final whip is a much bigger project, and I alluded earlier to the fact that I was knitting another jumper, and this is the jumper that I am knitting. It's the Turtle Dove 2 jumper from Espace Tricot. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I don't know if you can get it anywhere else, and I am loving this so much. I cast it on maybe about a week ago, can't quite remember, and I am knitting it. Let me show you what I'm knitting it from. Okay, this gorgeous squishiness, so squishy and soft. It is a skein of Drops Air. Is that focusing? I don't think that's focusing. There we go. So Drops Air is an Aran weight yarn. It's constructed differently to most other yarns. It's called a blow construction. It's a new type of yarn construction, presumably manufactured rather than having much hand. I have no idea how it's constructed, other than I've read that it is constructed using this new blow technique. I have heard some information about how they do it, but I don't retain things like that very easily at the moment. Where's the makeup of it? So it's a 65% alpaca, 28% polyamide and 7% wool. It is honestly the softest, lightest, most loveliest thing I've ever touched. It feels a bit like a bunny tail, although I've never squished a bunny tail, but that's how I imagine a bunny tail should squish. And it's the recommended yarn for the pattern. If you're on Instagram and you look at the hashtag TurtleDove2, there are some really, really lovely versions of this. Also obviously on Ravelry, on the finished object, on the project pages. But I have chosen the colour that the Espace Tricot team used for their finished object, and this is what it's looking like. It's quite difficult to see because it's obviously on shortish needles, but you can see I have completed the neckband. I am working through the raglan increases. I've got one more repeat of the raglan increases to go, and then I will split for the body. Difficult to see, but oh, it's just lovely. I'm looking at it and I don't even know if this is going to need a block, you know. Obviously I'll see what sizing it is. I didn't swatch, but it's quite an oversized sweater, so I'm hoping that the swatch gods will be kind on me, and I think this should be fine. But oh, it's just, I was a little bit uncertain about it because when I got the yarn, I got the yarn from Wool Warehouse. It's about £4.90 for a 50 gram skein. I don't know if this will show up very well, but the construction, it's not plied, so that's the blow construction. And my instinct is that this is going to pill because it's not tightly formed, but we will see. I haven't read anywhere that anyone has got an issue with it pilling, but my I'm normally quite an optimistic individual, but the pessimist in me is saying that this isn't going to wear very well. But if anyone out there has knit something using this yarn, I'd be really interested to know what you think about it and how well it wears. But I'm really hopeful that it's going to wear well. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but there's a beautiful halo. That will be the alpaca. I'm guessing, again, I've never knit with mohair or Suri silk alpaca, but I'm guessing this is the sort of finish that you get when you do. It's lovely. There's no itch whatsoever at all. I cannot wait to finish, and I'm knitting this up quite quickly. I think once I've split, I've got about 7 inches of knitting to go to. Then I need to knit the rib at the bottom, and then some presumably relatively short sleeves, because I think the raglan increases will take the sleeve, the start of the sleeve, to about here somewhere. I'm not doing that very well. Anyway, so yes, TurtleDove2. I don't know if it'll be finished by the time I record again, but it'll have made some fairly solid progress. I'm knitting this using wooden needles. I have always been a lover of metal needles and normally knit with Chalgu red lace needles. But for this pattern, because I've been knitting a lot with wooden DPNs recently, I thought I'd try some wooden needles. And this is what I've been knitting with, so Chalgu bamboos. I I love them. I love them. I'm converted. I love the feel of them. I don't know if it's because it's summer maybe, and I don't know. The feel of wooden needles in the hands is really nice. Okay, right, I'm just going to consult with the oracle that is my show notes. Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. I am actually knitting a shawl, but I frogged a shawl that I'd been making a year or so ago that I'd just fallen out of love with, and I've only knit about that much of the new shawl, so I'm not even going to go there this time. Maybe next episode I will show you that if there's been some decent progress. Okay, so in other news, the other things I've got to tell you about, so I mentioned that we've moved house. I am now working full-time at Eldenwood Craft. I am the CEO of Eldenwood Craft, and it's just been brilliant. I gave up my full-time job in the NHS when we moved here, and it's just been the best thing ever. I am working really hard. Those of you who run your own business will know how hard you have to work. I'm working longer hours than I was in the NHS, and come the end of the day I am mentally and actually physically quite tired, but I love it so much. There's so much excitement. I look forward to getting up in the morning. I look forward to going to bed at night because I'm going to be working on my own business the next day. My brain is just full of ideas and things that I have to do, and it has been the best thing for me, for my mental health as much as anything. The level of stress has just gone, and working in a creative way every day with beautiful fabric is amazing. I can't recommend it highly enough. I know I'm very lucky to be in this position, and I do not take that for granted. But it's been a long-held dream of mine, so I am really chuffed that I've been given this opportunity, and I am going to do everything. I've been talking a long time today. Yeah, I was just saying I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to make a real go of this. So that leads really nice. Actually, no, I've got one thing left to talk about before I do my shop update. Can I just show you a couple of skeins of yarn that I got? I did a swap with with Caroline, who runs Colourful Creativity. I've met Caroline at the Knitty Retreat run by Zoe of Pins and Needles and Jenny of Owl About Yarn. So I met Caroline in Cardiff, and Caroline runs, as I said, she runs Colourful Creativity. She's a yarn dyer, and we did a swap not so long ago, and I was the really lucky recipient. I was about to show you Somerset yarns. I was the really lucky recipient of these. I hope that focuses. Aren't they beautiful? So this one is called Koi Pond. It's an 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and it's a really lovely plump twist, plumply plied construction. The colours in it are lovely. I really want to knit something out of this really soon, and then it goes really nicely with this one, which is called Hey There. Similar or the same yarn, 80/20. So as Caroline's name suggests, she loves colour. I guess all yarn dyers love colour, don't they? And it came with this gorgeous mini skein. That's one of my favourite colours. Anyway, So Caroline, thank you very much. Beautiful. Goes very well with the Somerset yarn. But yeah, really lovely. Thank you. I'll pop Caroline's details in the description box so you can go and have a look at her beautiful yarn. Right, I have one more thing to talk about, and that is my shop update. It's happening tonight, as I said at the beginning. I don't know whether I'll get this film uploaded in time for the shop update, but I have got around about 50 bags going in. I am not, don't worry, going to show you all 51 bags, but I am going to show you a small number just to give you a feel for what's going into the shop. I had a bit of a play over the last month. I have collected fabric for quite a few years now with the intention of using them in bags, in project bags, but I never seemed to have enough time to use all the fabrics I had. So I've gone stash shopping basically, and there are a large number of bags in the shop in this update that come from my deep stash. So there are a number that will never be repeated, but I've also been having a play with sizes of bags, and I just want to show you a few that I think that are favourites of mine, that I've got some repeatable versions of and some one-offs. And the first one-off is this gorgeous duckling, flat bottomed, not box bottomed, very large drawstring bag lined with this beautiful green linen. I have a feeling this will be snapped up quite quickly because I have had a lot of comments about it when I posted it on Instagram today. But it's a size of bag that I'm quite keen to do more of in the future, if I can find the right sort of fabric for that. So that's one bag. Now, sheep bag. It wouldn't be an update without sheep, would it? And I'm lucky enough that I'm going to be able to do a lot more sheep bags because there is still a huge demand for them, I'm really pleased to say. And I've long been asked if I could expand or extend the range of sizes that I do in my sheep bags. And the answer to that is now yes. So traditionally I've always done these XL bags that are great for blankets and large sweaters. My XL bags are now all going to have these lovely handles on. Inside I've always popped a couple of pockets in. There's my new stamp that come on Emma, my new stamp and logo that I've just introduced. So yeah, so the XL bags are still around. I am also introducing a slightly smaller version. So this is my midi bag. You see, if I pick that one up again, you can see it's slightly smaller. So the midi bag has got a side handle, and it's got pockets in again. A couple of pockets. You can't see that very well. But yeah, so this fits about 5 to 6 skeins of yarn, and it's great for smaller jumpers, big shawls. It would be great actually for the shawlography knit along that is about to start, a Stephen West knit along. I have to say, mystery knit alongs, which is what the shawlography is, do not interest me one little bit. I need to know that I'm going to like the end product, and I don't get that reassurance at all from a mystery knit along, even if, you know, I know what Stephen West designs are like and they're all amazing, but just not for me. However, if you're knitting the shawlography and you need a big project bag, I've got a number of midi bags going into my shop update tonight. And then, where's this one gone? Okay. I've also introduced this smaller version. and this will fit two to three skeins of fingering weight yarn. It doesn't have a box bottom because I didn't want to eat into the lovely sheep print, but this will be a regular in my shop as well. So that's sheep bags, and then just some of the others, the other prints. This is certainly by no means all of them, and it would take me too long to go through all of them, but here's some examples of what's going in. So this is a lovely Sophie Allport fabric. Sophie Allport is a British designer, and this is an absolute favourite of mine. I'm calling it the Autumn Woodland. It's a midi bag, this one, but it comes in smaller sizes as well. It's got a lovely sort of tealy greeny handle. I love all these cute little characters. Another midi bag, but again this print is available in a number of different sizes. So this is my hiking bag. Whoops. Again, I love this. There are so many beautiful fabrics out there. I feel when I've been putting this one together, if you were to look at my room now and you were a knitter and you love project bags, you would be a bit like going into a sweetie shop. There's so many lovely things to pick up. But yeah, so this is a fun sort of autumnal hike in the hills project bag. I got a smaller version, yes. So this is my midi. This is my sort of standard everyday size. So the midi has got the contrast fabric at the bottom. The standard size does not. Standard size, so the three sizes that I'm going to be doing are a small, which is about that size. That is good for a small project, so a small pair of socks, gloves, hats, that sort of thing. You can't fit a lot more than your project in this, but it's really good for when you're on the go and you don't need very much. So that's my small size. Then we've got my everyday size, which will fit a couple of skeins of yarn in. Again, you can see the difference. That will fit a couple of skeins. So again, good for your smaller projects, but also maybe a 2-skein shawl or something like that, children's garments. And then the next size up is the midi, which will fit 5 to 6 skeins and good for smaller jumpers, multiple projects, that sort of thing. So that gives you an example of that. This tree print is absolutely gorgeous. I've got a few of those in the small size. I love a tree print. I've got loads of this fabric. That's quite difficult to show in the light. It's a really subtle woodland scene. And again, I've got this in a number of different sizes, and this is in a repeat. I'm going to have some made to order options of these as well. Where I've got a lot of fabric of a particular print, then I'm offering, as well as ready to ship, I am offering made to order. And then I just want to show you these two because I love them, but they are not repeatable, and that is gorgeous rifle paper co. Midi every day. Beautiful. I wish I had kept a bag made out of this fabric for myself, but I think I've had this in my shop before. It was really popular then, and I'm going to use Rifle Paper Co more and more going forwards. The quality of the fabric is lovely. It's a sort of a linen-y canvasy fabric. So yeah. So shop update 24th of September, 7 PM UK time. Loads and loads of bags available. I've got loads of other prints that I'm not going to show you because time. But yeah, it would be brilliant if you went and had a look, and if you wanted to buy something, that would be really good because I have run out of storage space in my studio with all of these bags. And I need to get rid of them. Anyway, right, notes. I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I was going to talk about. It's been really good being back talking to you. I know there's been another big gap between my last podcast and this one. Now that I am working full-time on Eldenwood Craft. My plan is to record far more frequently. Every 2 to 3 weeks is what I would like to do. I'm still sort of working on my weekly, how I spend my weeks, but once Ella goes off to uni, I'll have a lot more time to focus on the job. Having your teenage daughter who's about to go off to uni at home is a little bit of a distraction, a lovely one, but yeah, my hours will be mine after this weekend, so I will aim to build podcasting time into my weekly schedule and hopefully record every 2 or 3 weeks. So all that needs to be said is thank you so much for watching. It's lovely to talk to you again. If you've enjoyed the episode, then please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and you'll get my next videos will pop up in your feed, and if you hit the little bell underneath, then you'll get notified when there's a new episode hitting the airwaves. Please add your comments below. I love reading them all and chatting to you in the comments. It's always lovely to see them. Thank you. And that is all for today. So until next time, happy making, stay safe, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye bye.